Should be coming up here.
There it is.
You pull up chat.
There we go.
Oh shit! I need my phone. Okay, you're live.
Yep. Oh, we're good. So I was thinking about as we wait for people to jump in, the topic that we are going to discuss tonight is what you guys think is the hardest series to collect and why. Because this could go entirely in a different situation, in a different path depending on, you know, somebody's expertise or their experience with with different series. But you know, what are the challenges of some of those of some of that series, and just what you think. So keep that in mind. My desk is blowing up right now. Desk is blown up. My apartment's tore up. I've been working on building a display board um, for some stuff, and I am not handy. I'm good with a 3D printer. I'm not so good with a handsaw. I'm just saying.
Jeez, man, you know, if the girls don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
Right. And I am neither. So
Handsaw. You need to move up to power tools immediately.
I don't have space for power tools.
Yeah. That's what power tools do. They build more space. You see the way we're going with this?
Hey, Penny Parent.
Some power tools.
Yeah, I would really like a garage or a shop or something so that I could just go out there and build stuff. But not an option right
It works a little while until you fill it with junk.
Right?
The first rule of chaos carpentry is cover every horizontal surface with stuff. I got a tool bench out there, you can't even see the darn thing. It kind of looks like my desk, only with power tools.
All right. So we got Chris Hurley came in. We got Penny Parent that stopped in. Bill457 says, Shay, I have a question. Coin and Card Hobbyist is here. Roadrunner is here.
How's it going, Oz? Hi, y'all.
Randy Collins, hello. Yeah, we got pretty much the whole squad up in here tonight.
They're showing up. I see them. I see Oz. Coin and Card. When are you going to join the panel, Coin and Card? Roadrunner. Oh, Roadrunner. There we go. You got mail.
What's your question, Bill?
Cajun. He says, did YouTube do away with live feed on Windows 7 through webcam?
For now.
Hey Shay, there's a magnifier in the Windows accessories. I'm just saying.
You can hold it. Set the camera back there and you can put the screen right up to your head. You heard of 3 blind mice? We got one of them. What's the hardest series to collect? Jeez, man, it took me 40 years to complete a set of Lincolns.
And that could be hard as far as time. or availability.
You know, you start getting some of them that start getting a little pricey. But 40 years is what it took before I finally got that last one, that 1909 SVDB, and that was an accident. Getting that?
That one that you got for $60,
Yeah, it was a good accident
right?
and unexpected. And I still didn't have a complete set because I didn't have the 09S I wanted.
But at least the just not having the 09S is a cheaper version than not having the 09 SVDB.
You can get an 09S; they're easy. Getting them in high grade is a challenge too. Some of them get a little tough. Yeah, you get 31S's in high grade real easy. 14D, they're scarce as hen's teeth.
So in terms of a hard series to put together, pretty much any older proof series is going to be difficult at this point. In terms of price, in terms of examples on the market, not trashed examples on the market, and people typically want about 3 times what they're actually probably worth and what they've sold for before. So some of these older proof series, I think, are really, really scarce and hard to put together a good set. I mean, even if you look at, the early proof Lincoln cents, they're relatively cheap compared to their mintage, but they're just hard as hell to find. Your lowest mintage is, I forget the 2 years. There's 2 years that have really, really low mintages, but they're relatively. What was that?
15 and 16, I believe.
That's right, 15 and 16. But they're relatively cheap compared to that, SVDB, and some of the higher grade, business trick examples. They're super cheap compared to those.
Yeah, you get a Matt Brew for $200-300 for an MS6162. Really affordable. But finding them is going to be tricky. They're few and far between.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh man.
Stevie Mantic.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I'd go with any older proof series. Are there any series that you're going with that you're throwing in the proofs along with your business strikes? Just making it a little bit harder on yourself.
Yeah, I just gotta say, that's like, does anybody remember Max Headroom?
Yeah.
That's a cross between Stevie Wonder and Max Headroom right there, man.
Yeah, I can't see.
You will love coins.
Yeah, can you dig it?
So Chris, what do you think is the hardest series to collect and why?
I think every series has its own challenges. There's a few easy ones, like the Jefferson Nickel series. That's relatively easy. Susan B. Anthony's, Eisenhower dollars, even the presidentials, state quarters. All that stuff's easy. You start getting into Lincoln cents and let's say Liberty nickels or Mercury dimes or Morgan dollars. They all have their challenges, whether it's key dates or maybe you're trying to build higher grade sets, and some of the Morgan dollars were so conditioned it's hard to find them in good condition because a lot of them were used in casinos back in the day, like the Carson Cities and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of challenging series out there. And then you start adding in some of the, of course, the varieties. I mean, I don't want to get into that totally, but you buy it. We touched upon this a few times before. Some of the books you buy now are putting the varieties right in the book. So if you have OCD, like most coin collectors do, you want to fill that hole, and that can be a challenge. But I mean, Washington quarters starting at 1932. There's some key dates right there that are, they can be expensive. They're somewhat affordable, but depending on what your budget is, they may be unattainable for you at the moment. Right now, I mean, I need an '09 SVDB to finish my Lincolns, and I just cannot justify spending a couple $100 or more on one single penny, as my wife would say. You paid that much for a penny. I just can't do it. So unless I get lucky or find one in a coin roll, it's going to be a long time until I get that. And then I start working on my other, series, whether it be, the Liberty nickels, and then you got a few key dates in there. It never ends.
The 1913 is a tough one.
Yeah, I'd say so. But like I said, I think every series has its challenges. Even the Jefferson nickels. I mean, if you want a high grade set of Jefferson nickels, there's some years that are just so hard to find the better grades. So, yeah, I mean, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Shay?
I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, any series is hard until you know it, and then the next problem is whether you can afford it. So I personally, I find Morgan's a little challenging because I haven't spent enough time studying all the VAMs. And then I look at colonials and I look at, half cents, and I still struggle with those because I don't know enough about them yet. And I think that's going to be true until I've done a full survey of each denomination, right? And coin type. So I think that understanding, I did notice the knowledge you learn about the basics, like the underlying fundamental, theory of how varieties are made and all the other aspects to coin collecting. The more you have that solid foundational knowledge, the easier some of that stuff is when you transfer. As an example, I was looking at pennies yesterday, half dollars, quarters, and I hadn't looked at nickels in months. But as soon as I pop some nickels under the scope, I'm like, I can identify what things are pretty quickly, just because of the transference without knowing the series. But there's some series I think are harder, like some of the half cents. You have varieties that aren't really varieties. The master diet had something going on, and every single coin has it. So that stuff's just knowledge of the series and how the historical time frame for each series and what was going on, not just in coining but in the world at large, to understand why things are the way they are. I love being able to put that information together. It helps me learn, like silver shortages and huge efforts to melt coins and other events that happened and how that affected the coinage at the time. That kind of helps you understand why things are the way they are in any particular series. So be on the lookout for that stuff. It's not just about the year and mint mark.
Yeah, I'm really with you on that one. I think if I had to pick one, it would actually honestly be the 20-cent piece. Really specifically because of the amount. There wasn't a lot minted to begin with, and then there are those times throughout the economy and throughout history where they had all these massive silver, buybacks and stuff, that they pulled all the silver coinage and they all melted it. So for me, that would be number one of my short list of series that is really hard to collect, because one, they weren't minted for a long time to start out with. They weren't minted very much to start out with, and then you follow that up with how many were pulled and melted just within the few years after they were initially issued. So to find those that have that have existed since they were struck in 1875, 1876, and especially in higher grades. Like immediately that this coin in the higher grades, it was saved right after somebody got it, and it's been saved since. So there's a lot of history for me on that particular one, the 20-cent piece.
You get 7 dates and min marks to get on that.
Yeah, so I'll hop back in here real quick and just take a little bit of a different approach. I'm not a series collector whatsoever. There's a lot of numismatists that have that drive just to get one of every date and mint mark. That's just not the type of collector I am. I like my oddities, and in terms of collecting not in a series, that's a beast in and of itself. I do a lot of research on stuff. There's a rare, Civil War type era where there's 4 known. 4 in map proofs, 15,000 minage. Stuff that, some like your German metals. There's the information's not there, and you have to do a lot of seeking just to get the knowledge about minages, about survival estimates. You kind of have to do a little bit of estimating yourself, and collecting in that aspect can be a rabbit hole. It absolutely can. So that's, just like your other series, you kind of can't be poking in the dark. You gotta put some time into researching some of the things that you, in essence, want to buy.
What happens if you want to buy everything? How do you research everything?
I don't have that need. You guys have seen the type of stuff I collect and how selective I am, the stuff I keep. So it's just not in me I kind of got over that habit of just, I need to have everything to where I just get selective with what I buy.
I'm not there yet. I've always collected everything, and at least my focus is now specifically on like coins and maybe guns and ammo and precious metal. So my focus has been honed a little bit, but I've always wanted to collect everything. So now I buy every coin I can, and I buy every gun I can, and I buy all the silver I can, and I can't afford gold, but one day I will.
Yeah, it is. When you're not collecting a series, it is a lot easier to get your PCGS coin facts photo up there. I have quite a few coins and scarce metals that are, the only one that's on PCGS coin facts. So that's always enjoyable too.
All right.
Yeah, not enough time in the day to collect everything.
No, but I got to work at nights to keep up with me.
I got to step away for 1 second here.
Yeah.
Amber says, I think I collect everything. That's why I don't have room for anything.
Hey, you got a new shed to store stuff in now, so.
Yep. Well, keep the best and to hell with the rest.
Yep.
Yeah, you do get a problem when you get into cost. I find over $50 the market really slows down as far as the number of people that are interested in coins. And at $100, there's another big drop in how many people are going to stick it out. You got wife, you got kids, you got house, mortgage, the car payment, car insurance, the cable TV bill, all of it. And geez, dropping $100 on a coin, that's a little heavy for a lot of people. How do you justify that when you're raising 2 kids? How many you got? You got like 7 kids over there or something.
I got 4.
4?
Yeah.
40. How do you spend $100 on a coin?
I can't. I mean, I have a separate pot that I have, and I've said this before. I buy and sell coins, sometimes specifically to resell, in the hopes of making a little bit of extra money so that I can buy coins to add to my collection. And sometimes I get lucky and I buy a lot of bulk lots. Sometimes I get lucky and there's some really good stuff in there that I get to keep for myself. And a lot of times, you know, I'm not really looking to make a whole lot of money. I'm just looking to make my money back, maybe a little bit on top, or I keep a few coins out of the bunch I buy and just even out. And that's how I do it. You know, every once in a while, I'll see one that I just can't live without, or I think will sell really well, and I'll drop $100 on it. But it's not very often because it's too much of a risk for me. I'm operating on a pretty small budget, and I think I do really well with what I have. I've been building my collection beyond what I thought I could ever do, without really spending any money on it. So it's kind of awesome, and that goes for the whole you know part of my collection, whether it's coin storage or books or albums or literature, research material, whatever it may be. That's all of it.
Yeah, it's kind of odd right now because in the position I sit, I find it easier to sell stuff to the $50 to $100 range, to $150 range, better off than the $5 to $10 stuff right now. I can't get rid of any of that cheaper stuff right now. The only stuff that I've been selling recently is the higher price stuff.
Oh, that just means that you could buy more books.
Some of these books get to be pretty expensive.
Yes, I do.
These dreams will cost you $1 to $150. How do you justify those expenses? That's not even a coin. You get into these series where the lower grades are $100 or $200. Those old flowing hair design coins, the pennies, the early coppers, those gorgeous ladies. They can be pricey just per call. I was talking with Cindy. Cindy's in the chat. I was talking with her a while back, and we were looking at, going through eBay, and she says, "This coin, it's worn down to a knob. They want $100 for it. Is this real?" And I said, "Yep, that's a 1793 flowing hair penny. It's $100 for, for a planchet. It's worn down so much." Yeah, they can get pricey. And Chris makes a good point. You can use the hobby to fund itself. And that's the beauty of this. It's hard to do with fishing unless you can sell a lot of trout. But the hobby will take care of itself.
And I do that out of necessity. I'm addicted to coins. I can't stop. But unfortunately, I have a family and bills and everything else like everybody else in the world does. Roadrunner said, "No wife, no kids, no mortgage, no problem." Yeah, so I always tell my kids, if I didn't have you guys, I'd be rich. But one day they'll move out, and then I can focus a little bit more on my collection. But until then, I got to do what I got to do.
Well, look at the other side of the story. What's the easiest series to collect?
Lincolns. All day long. The cheapest,
I'd go with
most
Jefferson.
plentiful.
Except for a couple of dates.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For the vast majority.
Man, I find that you can collect Lincolns until the cows come home and never run out of die varieties to collect.
Yeah, especially when 1960 DRPMs, all 175,000 of them.
I would say, all in all, the easiest sets to put together nowadays are the ones you can go to the bank and fill most of your book with. They're the cheapest. They're the most accessible to, folks that don't have the money to put together, Pogue era, collection types. So anything that you can, go to the bank and, put together a decent book with.
It takes a while. Just if you go through coin rolls, just getting a full set of Lincolns, memorials, and shields in top grade, just full red. That's hard enough to do out of circulation. You can get back to the mid 80s pretty well, and then they start getting scarce in full red.
Well, still, you can put together a decent a decent set for cheap, at least.
Yeah.
Is what I was kind of going at least. Jefferson's, even the newer dollars, as Chris kind of talked about a little bit earlier. They're accessible and they're cheap.
Even Kennedy's. I mean, if you think about Kennedy's,
Yeah.
what is the key date of a Kennedy? A 1970D? I mean, how hard are they to access? How expensive are they? Even the not intended for circulation ones, you go on eBay or some of the coin groups on Facebook, and you can buy those all day for $3 a set. I mean, it's really, really affordable. They're nice looking coins. Shay really likes them.
Understandable.
So, when it comes down to it, that's a relatively easy series to collect. I think Jefferson Nichols, it's the first set I have ever completed. I think that's an easy set to complete. The harder, even the key dates in the Jefferson Nichols are cheap, easy to come by. Yeah, I
You
mean,
get that special frosted uncirculated piece there a few years back.
Well, we're working on 687 varieties, including the base design for the $half series. The big problem comes if you're a $half roll hunter and you're not diversified in anything else. We hit a box, and this isn't a bad thing, but we hit a box that had 287 silver $half. All right, now if your budget is $500, I can no longer go back to the bank and buy a $500 box until I liquidate the 287 silver $half, right, or some amount of it. So your liquidity, you have.
I would love to have problems like that.
Yeah, right.
That's right. And especially now when we're all trying to get our hands on silver, as the price is going up and whatnot. But pennies, putting away, I mean, even $5 worth of pennies is a lot of pennies to possibly have found. So, it's as far as affordability, I think Ken nailed it with being pennies, nickels, but yeah, if you have budget to spare and you can, if you want to continuously coin roll hunt, you just have to look at the denominations and how much you're taking out, because it does cost. It hits the pocketbook sometimes.
I'm just going to be a smart butt by saying this one. There's a 3-coin series that's pretty easy to put together. The Flying Eagles.
Yeah.
Well, does that include the 1856? And how about the snow varieties?
Yeah, the 3 coins. It's pretty easy.
Any set can grow once you start including dye varieties. Some of those get pretty pricey.
Shay, one thing you said about when you got that box and you got all those silver coins in it, that's exactly what I do. It's kind of weird. I have these separate budgets, right? I have my coin roll hunting budget that I keep recycling that same money over and over and over. But I'm one of those guys that I do not re-roll my coins. I don't have time to do it. I don't have the energy to do it. So I take them to a Coinstar or similar machine, and I pay the 11% to cash them in. It literally takes me 30 seconds. So I will pay that money to get it done for me. But what I do to compensate for that is all of the change I get throughout the week or month or whatever, buying stuff, I throw it in that same thing. So that kind of pays for the fees that I pay at Coinstar. So it's like there's no pain for me. I don't feel any pain. I'm constantly, like, I just cashed in. I was not really doing it much lately, and I had this bag laying on my floor. It's all the ones I went through, and I've been throwing all my spare change in there, and it was probably $1.50 box of pennies that I actually had in the bag, plus all of my change. I went and cashed it in, and it was over $80, so I actually came out ahead. So that's kind of cool. And then I have my coin sales budget, I guess you would call it. So there's so many different ways you can be creative with how you add to your collection or how you build your series.
So let me see if I can put it on there. I can't see anything, obviously.
You don't have a backup pair of glasses at home, man?
No, it's pretty bad. Those broke.
That's why they make duct tape.
All right, so this was out of 2 boxes searched. These are all the varieties that I got in the last couple of days.
Wow.
So you can see that quarters is quite a. You can find a lot of varieties in them, right? There's quite a few double dyes that I was able to find, but stuff I hadn't found before either. It's so exciting, but that's probably at least $10 worth of change right there. I think maybe more, 15, and you do that every couple of days, and your collection grows pretty fast. So when you're budgeting and you're thinking about when you're thinking about how much money to set aside for those boxes, just make sure you take that into account. Just figure maybe keep a slush fund at 10% hanging around.
That's what I was going to say. It's 10%.
It'll even itself out.
Hey, Chris Hurley made a good point, and I've been meaning to do this for so long. He's a member of a credit union, and apparently they charge him 4.9 cents on a dollar. So he's saving money there. There's actually a bunch of credit unions in my general area, and they have free coin counters to members.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to join one, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I should.
So I have coins.
I have 6, and that's because sometimes those coin counters go out, and each one costs $5 for membership, and
That's not bad at all.
So it's $30 investment, and I have 6 different places around town that I can just go and take my coins to. Some machines are slower than others. Some, like if you go at lunch break, it could take 40 minutes if you have $2,000 worth of change, or it could take 15 minutes. It just depends on the machine and whether it gets jammed and, how willing the tellers are. Like I've told people this before, buy them cookies, bring them gift cards for coffee, I don't know, whatever. Make sure they stay happy because they're lifting the huge bags of coinage. The other thing you can do is make a deal with the manager to see if you can pick up that change. Like go to one that you don't go to normally to drop change off and ask if you can buy their bags. You're actually saving the credit union money and helping their bottom line by buying those bags, and they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay the armored car companies to come pick it up, $5 a bag, right? Just be wary. They will ask you or tell you, hey, our coin counter may be off. You have to be able to accept the fact that you're shorted a couple of bucks when you buy bags. So, no worries.
Hey, I've done really well with bags. I had a guy I used to work with that was a member of a credit union, and he would get me bags once in a while, and I would do really well with them. A lot of stuff I find, people put their change away. They store it for a long time, and then they'll go in and cash it all in at once. So, man, I had some really good stuff, a good mix of older date, copper coins and lots of Wheaties. I did really well with those bag coins from the machines.
I think what Shay was saying is building that rapport with the tellers, because there has been all kinds of stuff that I've been able to get my hands on. Eisenhower's. I have I've got a newer state quarter that is that hologram type that normally comes in sets. So I got that one. Basically in change back because and they ask questions about about currency, which I only know a little bit, but what they will do is that they will, if they come across something that is odd, or that they can't really identify or something like that, they'll hold it until the next time I come in, and they'll be like, "Hey, what do you think this is?" Or, "Have you seen one of these?" And that's awesome, because it's those coins that have been set aside for the last 60 years that are just now coming back to life, basically. And I get first dibs on it.
I go to a vape shop and they have a tip trash can. Like it's a big trash can and they gussied it up with pictures and all sorts of stuff. But they save all their change that they get in tips because they don't really like counting it. And whenever I come in every couple of weeks, I'll buy their trash can full of change from them and then give them some extra dollars on top of it. So they love it. So they keep it for me.
That's cool.
Yeah. So find those places that you shop at and places that, you see a tip jar. That's a potential place for you to not just help them out, but get coins on a regular basis and get people involved in a hobby. Every single one of those people are asking me questions, and every week they're asking me a little bit more advanced question, like, "Oh yeah, I think my grandma has this," or "What's this worth?" Or and anything to draw them into the hobby, because I think that's really important for all of us here and in chat to be working on trying to promote the hobby.
Stewards of the hobby.
That's right.
Absolutely.
On that point, Shay, I find that the more people learn about the coins, the more interested they become too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Totally. I often get strange looks, and people ask me when I carry buckets of change into the credit union. They're like, "How long did it take you to save that?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a coin collector. That's a couple of really?" And I tell them about the show and the coin seminar, and I try to get them to come and say, "It's on YouTube. Just look it up." So, yeah.
Awesome. I guess we get starting into some pictures.
Do better. There's a lot of them.
And so I'm gonna kick up this one. If I can get this. Oh, I just did this. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I don't need that. Where is? Okay, so I'm going to start with this picture. And this comes from... I already lost it. This comes from... Liston. The question is strike through wire. Let me do the right screen. There we go. So the question is this a strike through wire? And so this is on a 2013 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel.
I want to start with the assumption of damage.
I got to be honest with you. I see furrows along the bottom edge of that line. That is damage.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I saw, is when you can see basically metal that's pushed up along the sides, that's not going to be a strike through, that's going to be post-mint damage. If this was a strike through, the fields, basically the areas on each side of the anomaly are going to be flat, are going to be smooth.
Yeah, they're going to be undisturbed. But I will say that this is a good one. This is a good example, because I have seen many struck through wire coins that have the same exact shape and general length to them. And in this case, what would separate this from that is that moved metal. I mean, right there's your key for this.
So they sent in some good, a lot of different pictures. So, but yeah, I mean, it still looks like that it's this area is jagged, like it's not smooth.
Yep, that one's a ding, dent, damage, whatever you want to call it.
Good picks, though, by the way.
Yeah, good pictures. I had to rotate some of them, but yeah, I mean, good clear pictures, obverse and reverse, and with enough resolution that we can zoom down and really, look at some of the fine details.
Yep.
So, cool.
I can even see the piano keys underneath it.
Yeah, I always advise people to start with the assumption of damage. They're going to be right almost every time. After that, your two biggest issues are going to be mechanical doubling and die deterioration. So if you can identify damage and identify MD and identify die deterioration, wow. After that, you figure you probably have something.
The next picture is from Russell, and they are. I can't even pull them up. They are so blurry. There's one that's part of a Jeff Jefferson nickel, but it's just error coins, and there's no question.
I can't do anything with these.
The Google Photos don't have access. Roadrunner. Capped bust half dime. Okay, let me get these pulled up here.
There's a series that's a little difficult, huh?
In any grade. In any grade.
Okay, let's jump back to here. Do this, and switch. There we go. Okay, so this one right here comes from Cindelicious. The question is, I know this is low grade, but not many left surviving. Could you please help me tell which variety? Large date, small 5, small date, large 5 is the question. So that is the first picture, and that is the second picture.
That was the halftime?
Half dime. Says cap to bust half dime.
Grab it out.
235.
37.
37. $18.37. Is there any double punching at the date?
Can't tell.
On the reverse, right side, right base of the first T in States and A in America doubled.
Hold on, she's saying that the wrong pictures went through,
No,
so we might have to come back to this one.
Well, there is a large and small date for 1837.
Yep. You're going to find USA Coin Book. A lot of times we'll have diagnostics on large and small date, all the bigger varieties that are available. And you can pull those up and zoom in on the particular photo. And you're looking at the number 5 and the letter C on the back. And just compare what you have with what they have for photos. But the small 5C is going to be tough. And it looks like the top flag of the 5 is going to be a key indicator for that.
let's see. S is under E. Yeah.
Also, look at the serif on the top of the C and compare that to the distance from the stem of the olive branch. If
Yeah,
it's right at
she
the
might
end
be
of the
trying
stem,
to send additional pictures
no,
because that wasn't all the pictures.
Uh-huh.
What she's saying. Because the pictures that we got were only those two, so which does not have the bottom of the reverse. So we'll come back to that one.
That'll be a key diagnostic there.
Yeah, the large. Yeah, we need to look at the. I just need to look at the coins, you know. Some of the 1837s, they used the 1835 dies in the reverse.
Okay, let's we'll come back to that one. So let's jump to this one. This one comes from Ida Herring, and she says she's asking if there's any RPMs. And the first thing on this one is no. They stopped doing the repunching or the hand punching of mint marks in 1989. So any coins post 1989 will not have RPMs. So this is a 1999, and this looks like
You're more
This-
likely to find die deterioration on these.
right. So, but this coin is has seen
I
some.
think I see it. I think I see some machine doubling on the left side of the P there.
Yeah, this coin is in rough shape as it is.
Poor old Jefferson.
Yeah, so when I look at Jeffersons, especially when I'm looking at the devices, I'm looking at these flowed, these elongated devices down here at the bottom. This is die deterioration as it goes to the rim, and that will deform the shape of letters. And so the die deterioration is always radial out to the rim, and you can see the actual metal flow right in here underneath the date and right next to the mint mark. So that would be that one. Let's see. Chris Hurley has a. Go ahead. I'm just trying to download the next picture.
There we go. Cindy's has come up. Yeah, we got it.
While we're waiting, I just want to say hi to everybody watching on YouTube and thanks for showing up.
Yeah, hey everybody.
Okay, I got Cindy's. She sent some more photos on that halftime. Let me see if I can make this work. Screenshot. There we go. See if we can see. There we go. You can see what I can see. But all right, she's got this piece right here. But the critical point I want to see is right at the bottom of the stem, and we've got a little issue with the reflection of the mylar here. I want to be able to see this particular area.
I think even with that image though, Ken, based on the location of the bottom of the C where you can see it, it does not look like it's over to the right, past that stem or leaf.
So this would be the small. If we, let me see if I can find that other item here, which would be the small C. That's as big as I can make this photo. If the serif of the C is far over to the right of the stem, that'd be the large 5C. The small is almost directly under it. And find her photo again. It looks like you're right under it, because that wouldn't be over here and still be a C. Yeah, I think we see it now. Yeah, it looks like it ends right here.
So is that the better one, Ken, or not?
Let's see. Let's have a look. I'm going to go back just a bit. Oh, let's see. Small, large, one more. USA coin book, as I said, will oftentimes have these. It looks like the small C is a little bit more desirable. In good, very good, you're looking at 50 to 75 bucks and maybe $10 more for the small C. So that's a score. And it starts widening out. By the time you get to very fine, the premium is, you're talking 80 bucks. EF, $100 premium, and it gets higher after that. But you get a nice little extra boost in there for, for $10 or $20 bill. Let's see if we can find that coin again. Here's her piece. You're probably looking like you're in fine condition here.
Can you show the top of that, the states on the reverse? S is under EN space. That's correct. The UN is to the left of. That's correct. In the legend, ERI touch in America.
I don't have anything beyond America.
And then one arrowhead touches the shaft. Oh, the first A in America is defective.
Yep. Top left.
And the arrow is rather close to A.
Is this rather close?
Not too much. Is one of those arrows touching a shaft? I would say maybe that bottom one where it's smashed a little bit on the top. No, is that point, the upper point of the arrow touching that? Yeah, that. Is that smashed or is it touching?
I think I've got some glare in the way. This glare line seems to stretch over and cover it. I can't tell.
Yeah. All those are for a large open 5C high. But there's several different, that's just without more. I mean, I really want to confirm on ERI in America that they touch. Well, it doesn't look like they touch. Yeah, they're not touching, so that's not the die. But this is the stuff I love about these cap bust half dimes and seated half dimes. This is the stuff where you actually have to have strong observational skills and pay attention to the details, because literally the way those letters are in relation to others can tell you a whole lot about the coin and help you properly identify it. So, anyway.
Shay, what resource are you using for that information?
That's Daniel Valentine.
You got Valentine's book?
Yeah, right here.
Well, you've gone hardcore on us, haven't you?
Yeah.
I can't see it. There we go. Okay, cool.
Well worth it if you do have time. There's also another book. He doesn't cover the later end of the series, the latter end, as well as there's another author, and the name escapes me right now. But he does a great job on the cap bust in the early series of but I have found that there are some things that he leaves out. Nothing's coming to mind right now, but multiple books will cover you for sure. Like I also have Bowers, I think. Yeah, Bowers for the whole seated series. This kind of just gives a nice rough, it's got varieties in it. Like Chris was saying earlier, books come with varieties just listed in it, but not to the extent of Valentine going through every die pairing. I mean, that's hard to beat right there. And you'll want, if you're going to ever send half dimes or to get graded, you're going to want to give them the Valentine number. So it's kind of necessary if you do that. It'll cost you less. Instead of paying them, what is it, $15 to look it up for you, you can just pay one time.
These are the price of the book.
Yeah, exactly.
I just found one called A Classification of the Early Half Dimes of the United States.
There's a couple of good online sources. Like there's some universities and students have written papers about specific things like arrows and there's some good stuff out there.
Cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I really like searching university archives. I spend a lot of time doing it for some of these coins. It's usually free.
Yep.
There needs to be a die variety for dummies. We're working on it, baby. You know what? Shay and myself, CJ's been helping out. Chris has put some work in to the standard database, and we're coming up with issues where we have to extend our knowledge a lot of times. And Shay, with the 64 half dollars in particular, we're having to do an obverse die and a reverse die to come up with a proper attribution for the entire coin. It's the same darn thing that that Cohen was doing to come up with, say, Cohen 2. You have to follow the die pairings because over time they change. They'll change one die out and bring in another one. And it's proving to be tricky a lot of times. So,
and fruitful.
Oh, fruitful for sure. Good Lord, you find all kinds of more varieties. But it's a lot of fun. There's an adventure to it.
Yeah, that can be very challenging with pinning down die pairs. Talking from experience, I mean it's a lot of work, but it can be a lot of fun. It's a lot of work.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like, just take for instance, just to talk about it for a second. So, like the reverse that you can identify an accented hair with, all right? That same reverse is also on the 64 SMS, but it's not on some other coins. You have the next design variety. Well, the next design variety came out in 1965. So it means that if you have a 64 with that design variety from 65, that your coin was actually made in 65, right? Because no coins before 65 have that design variety. So you can pretty much, and then these varieties cross over from year to year. They're doing two different varieties in the same year, and it's kind of interesting to see the transitional changes between the years. And then, there's all sorts of other information you can derive from that, So I don't know. It's fun.
Sleuthing.
Yeah.
Coin forensics is what you're getting into.
A lot of guesswork sometimes.
Well, it's like
educational guesswork. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it's scientific, right? You see a certain pattern, you put forth a hypothesis, and then you check all your different coins to find out whether your hypothesis is correct or not. And
so the scientific method applied to coin collecting. Unreal.
Mm-hmm. When clashes appear and disappear, When those dies get polished. Yeah,
That sounds like a book all in itself.
Well, I've been
it is.
following some of these coins, and there's a trend in the way the die markers show up and change over time. One starts up and it can actually disappear. They can change out entire reverse die. Well, there goes your markers. Now what? But you got other markers on the obverse die that are still continuing to grow or change over time.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. So, yeah, there's a progression to it. You got the same sort of thing you're encountering with your 1955 cracked skulls.
Our schools, yes.
The moving die.
For the folks that have a little bit of mathematics knowledge, I like to compare it to a sinusoidal wave. So you have things that appear, disappear. You have new things appear, and then eventually that die either terminally fails or they change out. A die pair, in some regard. So it's knowing those trends and knowing those patterns of when where those things appear in a series. An estimate of a die state by polishing marks, abrasions, deterioration on that die, where that deterioration occurs. So a lot of factors that go into that.
Well, you could do some more scientific study in determining the exact date. It's almost like you can get public information. I know that Breen filed for Freedom of Information Act and other things like that to get information about coins. But you can actually probably create a bell curve for a particular die and see, and then rate it, within the top 5%, lowest 5%, middle, median, every in that bell curve to how many, and determine what kind of a population exists for that particular variety. Just by doing those studies. But that's
yes, I have filled out paperwork before to get information from the mint. Can be a pain, but you can get some useful information from it.
All right, you guys ready to go on the next one?
yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right, this one comes from Chris Hurley, I believe. Yep, Chris Hurley. This is a 2000. I gotta click on the right screen. There we go. He says this is 2000 Denver, and the question is that he suspected this 2000D to somehow have the copper plating eroded with no trace of copper detected.
This one definitely has the look of the copper being stripped off chemically.
Yeah.
Yep. You see all those bubbles?
Yep.
Yep.
So he sent in a few pictures as really good pictures. That's the best thing, is that when you have more pictures, the more that you can tell from a coin.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see like the porosity in the metal. But Jeffrey was agreeing there. Those like white specks all over the coin that appear raised. All of the ones that I've seen that were chemically stripped seem to have those dots, and I'm not sure exactly what causes them, but.
And then even if you look down on those surfaces, you have pits. That coin looks like the surface of the moon. Craters here, ups, downs all over the place. Those are just significant with a chemical stripper that took it off of that coin.
Yep.
Okay.
And the color. I mean, zinc will get black in circulation, but if you've ever handled a real one, there's just a color difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is that detail in the hair isn't there. The detail in the face just looks like by looking at it, you have an early die state coin that should have some more detail on there, especially in the beard, the hair, all over that face. There's just not enough detail for it to be authentic one.
Yeah, and even though the plating itself is very thin, when it's stripped off, the devices, specifically the letters and the numbers, they appear a little bit thinner, which isn't always an indicator, but in this case, I mean, everything just looks really thin. So yeah, I mean, this one looks like it was stripped to me.
Yeah, it just doesn't look right.
Okay, cool. I'm
There's
guessing-
Coin Dragon.
So Frank,
Yeah, Jody even agreed it was chemically stripped.
There we go. I can actually see these things now close up. Let me pull this. Yeah, when the coins are minted, you get a really nice sharp design from the die. But well, you strip away the copper and it's going to be a subdued sharpness on all the details, especially the hair, the beard, hidden around the vest and such. Yeah, this has been stripped down because if this was struck with a die and did not have the copper, this would be a whole lot sharper. Yeah, there's his duck lips. That's a 2000, all right. Okay, keep hunting. They're out there. They are few and far between. I had a fellow earlier today asking me at a nickel, and really different color to it. It says, "Is a clad layer missing on this nickel?"
I've seen that question asked so many times.
I'm afraid not.
Unbelievable.
All right. Next one is coming from Bill Betts, and the question on this one is, do I have a poor man's 1955 doubled die?
Oh, 55s, love them.
75% chance yes, without even seeing it.
Yeah.
All right,
Higher
so
than
that is the
75%.
obverse of the coin.
Yep.
And then he did have a close-up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
poor man's
Yeah.
typical.
Yes, sir.
Does he have a close-up of the head?
No.
Oh, come on, Jeff.
Come on.
Here
He's
you go.
not
Here's-
wearing a cowboy hat today, buddy.
right there. There's your close-up.
There you go.
The poor man's double die is not an actual double die. You have apparent doubling that is the result of die deterioration. So it is not hub doubling, it's a worn out die is all this is. They ran these things into the just down to the nubs back in mid 50s and later. You'll see this same pattern on 53s, let's see, 46s, 48s. Just terrible dies, all kinds of die chips, cracks. Front and back.
53.
Yeah, 53 is another really bad
53 is
one.
another really, really bad one.
You see these things for sale on eBay for $100, and they're about $99 and a half too high.
See him sell for $10 all the time. A lot of people get ripped off.
Ooh, I'll take that for $10. No, you can get these at a pocket change, just like that one.
Yes, you can.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to make one of those hyped up YouTube videos and talk about this. You can find this in your pocket change, the poor man's double die.
I did. I got a whole class about the 1955 double die, explaining it fully.
Yep.
It's out there.
And then I think you sent me one too.
I have piles and piles of them.
I actually, I think, now that I'm thinking back, I found one of those in the last probably 3 weeks. Coin roll
About
hunting.
85 to 90%, you're going to get some sort of doubling on a 55. Some sort of that deterioration doubling. It's going to show up.
Don't pay more than $1 for them.
Don't
Really?
pay that much.
I see them.
They're
I see them
common.
going for 100, 150,
Common.
$200.
Yeah.
No.
Common.
When people find out what they're really worth, they're going to be screaming bloody murder.
Don't buy
What
don't buy a coin that you can't look at in your hand for at least 2 years after you start this hobby.
Do you want to know what they're worth? 3 to 6 cents. That's how much they're worth.
All right, these next couple of pictures, there's 4 pictures. They are also coming from Chris Hurley, and this is what he says. He says, "I sent photos of 2 coins. The first, I believe, is a capped die. The second, possibly a struck through grease, as details are missing on the obverse and reverse of the coin. Please let me know."
So
Lincoln,
first, we discussed the term before. There is a difference between a capped die and a struck through capped die. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that this is a struck through capped die until I see the reverse pictures. But yeah, there is a difference. That one is most likely a struck through, very late stage capped
Very,
die.
very.
Because on this one, I don't even see like the stretch marks around the devices. Maybe up above the head.
The head.
But yeah, that's a winner.
So I'm just gonna make this point. There's a big YouTube channel that got some coins graded, and they kept on calling the struck through cap die a cap die, and it irked me very, very much. There's a big difference between a cap die and a struck through cap die. Big difference.
A cap
Binning
die
process,
actually
big
looks
difference.
like a bottle cap. I mean, it turns into a cup essentially.
A cup.
If I had one, I would use it as a shot glass.
There are many examples of where you have multiple planchets that form that die cap.
Yeah.
Bonded
Jeff,
pairs.
if you're gonna talk about my channel, just tell me, just tell me to my face, dude.
What gave it away? Really big.
I know, right?
really big.
When you get into errors and varieties, the terminology is everything. I see it a lot of times. People come up and say, "What kind of error is this one?" The terms are not interchangeable.
It's
An
the
error,
Mesozoic era.
an error is totally different from a variety. It's a different beast altogether. A variety is a change or alteration, either intentional or unintentional, in the design. Okay, so it's like Lincoln with no head, or say a wide AM. An error is a process, is a problem in the process of making the coin. So it doesn't matter the design whatsoever. To be a clipped planchet, for example, that would be an error. Something went wrong in making it. And you can have an error and a variety on the same coin. Like this penny we're looking at, geez, that could be a wide AM, and of course it'd be hard to tell once you look at the back. Or it could be, there it is, what is it? Okay, that could be a 1992 close AM, and we wouldn't know the difference.
No,
Because
we
the
can
error
figure
has-
out what coin this is based on the FG.
we can get pretty close.
Yeah.
But,
I'm saying early 80s. I'm saying early 80s here.
I'm
but,
saying
you know, that's
post 83.
What do you think in the front?
And the reverse. All the bubbles on the top left of the.
Yeah, that's what I was looking. I was looking at all these zinc bubbles.
Yeah.
But error and variety, they're different terms altogether. And if you don't know what it is that you're talking about, use the term anomaly to explain what you see or point out what you see. But
Area
cap
of
die,
question.
struck through cap die, totally different animals.
Extra metal.
So he did
Yes.
send 2 more pictures.
That looks more like a greaser.
So
okay.
that's
That coin, by the way, that coin is that I can see falls in between 1974 and 1985.
Is that the same coin?
Through Greece,
No, two
right
different
there.
coins.
It's a different one.
2 different coins. Okay.
No,
2 different coins. So
No.
this one right here
different
There you
was
go.
the first coin.
Okay.
And then
I just want to make
these two-
sure.
These 2 pictures are a second coin, and he is thinking that it is struck through grease on both the obverse and the reverse.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Can I see the reverse, the back again? That's a greaser. Yep.
It's a greaser. If you compare,
It's odd to see a grease filled die on both sides of it. Usually, like especially the ones I come across, it's only on one side, and I haven't seen one that's affected both sides.
I've seen a lot of them.
Have you?
Yes, and the reason for that is because of.
And you know what? Go ahead.
And the reason for that is if that grease gets, I've seen a lot of them to where that grease starts to stick to that to the hammer, and it just doesn't get caught, and then it starts leaking. That grease just starts going all over the place at that point and starts to creep into that reverse design. So I've seen a lot of them that have obverse. I've seen a lot of them that have obverse reverse. I've seen a couple a little more scarce to where you just have it on the reverse.
So I shared a link in our private chat, guys. I don't know if anybody can copy that and paste it to YouTube. I can't because I'm using two separate devices. But basically, that link takes you to Variety Vista's website that shows the Memorial Reverse Design varieties, RDV001 through number 8. And sometimes it really helps you narrow down. Like, for instance, 1973 is a 1-year only reverse design. So it can be very beneficial and help you narrowing down dates on coins sometimes by looking at that. And just by looking at the reverse on that structure cap die that he showed, it tells me that it's most likely between 74 and 85 based on the FG.
And then based
so
off
Bill?
the look of the zinc, we're looking 82 through 85.
Yeah, and you're right. I heard you talking about the zinc bubbles. Yeah, those early 80s are plagued by that.
Yep.
Yeah, Ken's got the website up there.
Just the FG can narrow down your coin to a handful of years, maybe 10 years in some cases. Kind of neat. If you want to swap some coins, yeah, it helps to know that design variety. Well, you don't have to memorize the darn thing. You can just look them up as you need to. But this is a handy site over here in Variety Vista.
So Bill 457 asks what type of grease they use, if they use a light grease or a heavy grease. As far as I know, it's a machining process. They're going to use machine grease.
Yeah, and there's probably multiple kinds of grease they use for different parts of the machine. The problem in this area here is if you read about it, there are plenty of articles written about it by some experts. It's not just grease by the point it gets on the coin like this. It gets mixed with dirt and metal shavings and all. Yeah. So by this point, a lot of people call it mint goo. So it's not really just pure grease. There's a lot of other things in it that make it very thick and almost like a cake batter, probably that. Really,
yeah, that's a good way to explain it.
Yeah,
and you can see it all the time on the quarters and half dollars. You'll see the grease spots on the surface, and you'll see letters like you can see G is almost not there.
The Kansas quarter in Godby Rust is a neat one.
Yeah, this one I didn't know there was another variety, but this is on the pictured rocks, and it's in the Audrey Rust, the Trust.
In Ode.
In Ode we trust.
Yep, in outside diameter.
And then the stuff falls out.
Ooh, yeah.
Then you get some neat stuff, right? Yeah,
Drop letters.
Quarter. Right, and you get that grease and grime and doo-doo and dust and everything packed into the G in the die. Well, every now and then it'll fall out. It drops out, and you now have a piece of hard debris that falls on the next coin and gets struck through. So you have a dropped letter, a struck through dropped letter. And you have effectively an infused G on another coin. And you see those every now and then. They're kind of neat.
Oh yeah, I have yet to find one of those, man.
They're scarce. They're scarce.
Well, I imagine that the stuff doesn't last too long. It's mostly grease holding it together. You smash it once or twice and you're done.
Yeah.
Now, Bill 457 brought up a really good point. That stuff also is getting heated up. I mean, you got machinery working, and anytime you have contact with something, especially at high speeds, you're going to create friction, which also creates heat. So you're actually baking that grease and mint goo and hardening it as well. So, and one other point I want to make up here, Shay showed that quarter. It's funny, the grease affects the different coins in different ways. So a struck through grease on a penny, a lot of times will just obliterate the design. Struck through grease on a quarter sometimes obliterates the design, but it usually leaves that weird textured pattern that you can see behind his head from the E in America to the A. It goes down around the D. It's just a weird textured pattern. So it does affect the coins differently. So that's definitely something noteworthy.
All right, so the next question comes from Nick Hurley, and the question is 1857 Flying Eagle. I believe it is the Snow 9. And yeah, I don't even have to look at pictures, and I know exactly which one this one is.
Yep.
So-
See, this is CJ's fourth law.
Right
Yeah.
here.
There it is.
This right
Oh,
here
yep,
is the absolute. It hands down.
Yep.
It is the Snow 9. Which, if you guys don't know what the Snow 9 is that there are three multi-denominational clashes that existed in the 1857 Flying Eagles. That's Snow 7, Snow 8, and Snow 9. And this happens to be Snow 9, which is one of the big ones. So the Snow 7 and the Snow 9 are the obverse clashes, and then Snow 8 is a reverse clash.
Now, that's a $20 gold that was clashed with.
The $20 gold is the Snow 7.
So this one is clashed with what?
This one should be the half
Liberty. Yeah, I was going to say Liberty Sea at $50.
Now, I had a long discussion with a dealer at one of the shows I went to who claimed to own, I don't know, 6 different die pairs of the 1856 and a lot of the Snow varieties. And we discussed this one in depth, and even he could not come up with a plausible explanation of how in the hell this happened.
It's a really good question.
So
It astonishes me how these are even possible.
I get, switching dies out and stuff, and maybe things happen, but to clash, and here's the other part, right? So we have a Flying Eagle cent with a gold, what is it, a gold dollar and a seated Liberty $50. So we have
and the
these
seated
weird,
quarter.
we have these weird mule clashes, right?
Yep.
Has one of those other coins ever been found with the obverse die clash of the Flying Eagle on it?
Well, that is
The,
transitioning from one coin to
the
another. So
reverse-
production has stopped.
Of the seated quarter actually has been found with the Eagle reverse.
Okay, so that in my mind proves that one's authenticity, right? The other ones, and I get it. Maybe only one type of coin was struck after the clash happened, but these baffle me. This kind of stuff really baffles me, and some of it almost seems maybe intentional. But I would really love to know how that happened.
So Chris Pilioid put out some information that basically describes that uh, that that the possibility that these things were done intentionally, because you wouldn't normally change an obverse die into, or a reverse die, and then put an obverse die so that you have two different denominations with obverse dies facing each other. The thought that I had is, when you look at the way that these dies were set in the presses, they actually had to run them or test like the striking distance, the gapping process, and what my theory about it is, if you want to call it that, is that this is one of those. It's the new guy in the block, and they're trying to train him on how to do gapping, which is the gap between the dies at basically full extent, and they didn't judge it correctly, and that's why that you have these clashes that still exist. Now, why they tried to do gapping without the two of the correct dies in place, I don't know. But then the other thing that you have to take into account is, in this same time frame, 1856, 1857, up to the 1860s, there was mint employees that were striking oddities and selling them outside the mint on purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those that it could be a number of factors all rolled in together.
I just pulled up images of an overlay of the Snow 9, and I gotta say, it is definitely a match, right? And both coins are centered, so I can see that it is plausible. But man, it really baffles me. So, like I said,
it's odd for sure.
I almost have to think that stuff like this is intentional. I really do. But very cool variety, and definitely something to look for. And even and the thing about this one is, even in low grades, you can find this one easily because it's so strong.
Easily.
Very cool, Nick. Thanks for sharing this one.
Yeah,
So
give that to Chris for Christmas.
The second part of this is that I could not find out much information as far as attaching a grade of value to the coin. I was curious if it was worth getting graded. I felt like maybe fine to very fine, but really wanted to get all of your thoughts.
Here's my thought. I hate it. You know what it is. You don't need to pay $60 to have someone else tell you what it is. On the other end of that, there are people that won't buy things unless they're graded. So, me, I'm not a fan of it. I like coins raw. I like to be able to handle them, and I'd say no.
I would agree with that. As far as a grade, the best thing that you can do, especially with you, it's very clear that you have the coin in hand and you have some great photography skills and lighting, is pull up these images, go on to PCGS PhotoGrade, and match it up. Because what I will tell you is that a lot of the wear that you're going to see first is right there on the eagle's breast, and then tail feathers, and then his back leg. You're going to start to see it on the edge of the wing, and then higher up on the edge of the wingtip. That's generally where you're going to see all of the heavy wear first. But as far as like as far as collecting the eagles, you already found one of the best varieties that you can get for the flying eagles. I would say now you just need to collect all of them.
Yep. Now you might as well finish that series, Nick.
If you're gonna start here, get yourself a Snow 8, get yourself a Snow 7 if you can find one, and then get one of the authoritative the Indian Head and the Flying Eagle and Indian Head attribution books written by Rick Snow, and go through and just start with Snow 1 and go all the way to Snow 18 for the 1857.
And then send them all to Chris Hurley.
So, and the reason why I say that is because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And I have 8 of the 18 just with weeks and months of research and pictures and reviewing, and it can be challenging, but if there's so many things that you could do with this one. The other thing that you can do is, say you want to collect oddities like Jeff. So do a set of just muled clashes. So you got to get yourself a Snow 7, a Snow 8, and a Snow 9. Then from there, you got to get the 2 set with the Indian Head clash. And then you can start building an entire set of basically the muled clashes for the 20th century. Now, if you want to go and include the modern one that has the Sacagawea with the Washington Quarter, like, you could do that one, because who else can you say has the set or a set of all of the muled clashes? Just saying.
Make your own set, make your own series.
Right.
Collect what you like.
That sounds like a new Dansko book that's coming out soon.
Right?
Mule Clashes.
Mule Clashes of the 20th century.
There you go.
But very good coin. I'm partial to the Flying Eagles, so yeah.
So am I. I haven't fell down the Flying Eagle rabbit hole as bad as CJ, but Flying Eagle I think is one of the best designs the U.S. ever made.
Oh,
it's simple, it's glorious.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm like, I'm chugging it out of a trough. Like, that's.
As far as getting it certified, the original purpose of certification was that you could trade coins sight unseen. With something like that one, you really need the image to show it off properly. So sight unseen trading really isn't necessary with those mules. Digital photography is such nowadays that you can get a pretty darn good photograph and send it anywhere in the world instantly. I think the entire idea of slabbing is dead, except for their authentication. Anybody who would collect that coin should be able to identify it properly with decent photographs.
I think the only other benefit would have been, preservation, keeping you from ripping it up with staples or some other mishap.
Gosh.
Staples.
Yeah, I'm the type of person, I do like my PCGS slab, and I do want a Snow 7, 8, and 9, a PCGS slab for the reference collection. So, I mean,
You can't have it.
Huh?
You can't have it. Mine.
I can't have it? Okay.
Well, some people dig that. Some of us are ultra competitive, and we want to build the best set, and you can actually make money doing that too. So that's
Yes, I mean, I can't knock anybody for if they want to slab a coin for that purpose, because I do it myself. And I'll send in coins, something really, really nice in terms of a token that PCGS, you kind of got to coax them to grade sometimes. But, scarce tokens, scarce foreign material that PCGS typically doesn't want to grade, and you got to coax them a little bit. Stuff that's scarce. I mean, that's what I usually put in slabs.
Well, I met a lady at one of the shows I went to. Her husband was a silver dealer, and we were talking, and she ended up telling me that she had the number 4 top rated registry set for proof half dimes. Talk about crazy set. I couldn't even imagine what kind of money was invested in something like that. But yeah,
If you want to talk about the biggest, the nicest half dime set, talk to Tim Rathjen.
yeah. You know, I think wasn't he selling some of those off though? Wasn't he starting to sell that off?
He did a while ago. I got to talk to him a little bit when we were out there about his. The coin that got him collecting was a really nice halftime. I forget what exactly date range he went for, but he had probably the nicest halftime set that was ever put together.
We really need to get him on this. We do.
He's not not big on this type of stuff, to be completely honest with you. He's like a lot of us.
He's posted hundreds of videos on Facebook about his day and what he does, and
I understand that, but Tim's like a lot of us. He
only acts shy. He's not shy.
He'll drink the Kool-Aid one day.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta meet him in person. That's all I'm gonna say. It's worth a flight out there.
Tim's a great guy. He really is. I was lucky enough to be one of the beta testers for the Look-Z app. Very, very cool technology. You know, just like his machine Newman. I mean, this stuff is really cool. This guy, you know, he's a step ahead of the rest. I'll give him that.
Yep, it's a little thing called switching from analog to digital.
All right. This next email comes from Coin Junkie, and here's the picture. And the question that comes with this is that let's see. If these would be considered drastic lamination errors, and if there's more to the 1973, as I can see a considerable thickness around the rim. So let me see if I think there's a couple of pictures on this one.
That's a nice one right there.
I wouldn't call it drastic or extreme, but it's bold. It definitely stands out. You can't miss it. I've seen laminations that take up half the coin.
You gotta love those clamshell laminations, right?
You like a bead stuck in there or something?
So
Yeah.
I believe that this is the obverse of the same coin.
Yeah, it looks like a reverse to me. I'm just saying.
Or yeah, the opposite side.
Yeah, and definitely some lamination issue going on there to the left of the leaf. I see a little bit of maybe like a crack or maybe part of a lamination that runs across the top right of the coin. It goes through the T and cent, and it goes through the tip of the maple leaf there. Anybody else seeing that?
Well, normally they'd all be parallel. You've got this bit over on the left of the leaf is northeast southwest, and the bit going through the leaf is northwest southeast. They're perpendicular. That's not typical.
No, that's weird. And actually, I see a little bit of it above the E in cent as well. Curious as to what that is, but yeah, nice lamination error.
Okay, so the 73 I'm pulling up right now. This is that one.
It's a keeper. Now that's
Ooh,
more
there's another
expensive.
one. Me likey.
This is interesting. I think you guys will get a kick out of this one. There. So I can get rid of those.
What's going on with this one?
So this one looks like a lamination before strike. So, right? That would mean that planchet is thinner in that area, which would explain the weakness directly opposite of that lamination on the obverse.
So there is the side picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
So you got this is one side, this is the other side, and then this must be that section of the room.
There you
Very
go. With
cool.
the lamination, there's no metal there, so you've got no opposing force, which is why you have a weak design on the other side.
That's a cool one. Definitely cool.
So as far as the question is, would these be considered drastic lamination errors? So I think that they are lamination errors.
I think the second one is more extreme.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree
But-
with Ken. It's not very often that I've seen the opposite side designs being weak because of lamination errors. That's a nice one there. I really like that one.
But yeah, I really like the when you can see like this one is extreme, but I like, you know, what would be really cool is if you had this 1973 and you had this piece that was, you know, that was either pulled off or that lamination peel with it. Like you could put the puzzles of the coin back together again.
Or another coin with a struck through exactly matching would be nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Where'd the missing piece go?
Where's Waldo? Let's see. So that's that one. And okay, I gotta pull these up differently.
Now, Blue Ridge Silverhound did one. He had a minor lamination, but it was peeling up. So he just ripped it right off. Now he's got the coin with the lamination peel in one holder, and then another holder he's got the peel itself. Of course, he peeled it, but that's a neat thing. You know, it's a matching pair.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, finding them in the wild is a little more tricky.
All right. Okay, so now we go there. This
We lose Jeff?
there.
Yeah, looks like it.
There he is.
There we go. He's back. All right, this is another one from Coin Junkie. I got the first 4 pictures up that are for this coin. This one, he says, this is a 1955 S. And he says, on the obverse, I see the letter O and N and wheat stalk around Lincoln's ear, and the letter T and E, and one other letter, I am not sure, around the chin.
Can you tell us?
Let's...
You've already
Getting there?
exceeded my ability to memorize all those things.
Wow.
I'm good for about 4 words.
4, that's it, Ken?
That's it nowadays.
All right, so here's picture number 1.
Ooh,
Die Clash.
Behind the head there.
Let's
This one's
look
kinda
under-
upside down.
can we see his neck?
Yep, that's a clash.
It's on the 55S, right?
Nice.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Then
I
picture
think I
number
have this very coin somewhere.
I have an example of this one.
You'll have wheat ears up around God we.
So this is the reverse, and the one thing that I notice is look at all of the heavy polishing.
Yeah. Look at your
Reverse.
grazing lines.
I want you to look down below that right wheat stock.
Yep, we got a
Down
little
here.
die crack down there.
You see that die marker on that? Yep.
Yep, I've got progressive indirect design transfer showing up here. Cracks, polish marks. It's a very late die stage. It's been in production for a while. On the obverse, you're going to see a shift in the clashes, especially around above the date, because it clashed repeatedly. 1955, they kept running these things until there was nothing left.
Yes, I've been examples. I've examples of this 55S die clash, to where they finally got around to polishing that obverse, and they polished the living bejesus out of it.
Beautiful.
So at that point, Jeffrey, did it have was it paired up with a different reverse die then?
Man, is my internet not like his program?
A different reverse or a different obverse?
Well, what I'm saying is, if he has this coin that has this clash mark visible on the obverse of it, that means they took that obverse die out of service to dress it. So I doubt they shut the presses down. So the coin that you have that shows the abrasion on the obverse, does it have the same reverse die marker?
Oh, okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah. And he's gone.
He went to go find it.
Yeah.
Good job on the pigs, Coin Junkie, man. That's good.
Yeah, it's always awesome to see these types of coins that have the clashes, especially that much of all of the elements visible. Because a lot of times, like, you'll get heavy polishing, like the bottom of the one will be almost polished out, or the neck will be polished out, or the Y and the T will be like polished. I have seen T's that are half as thin as Y's that are half as thin as T's, because they went they just absolutely went like die grinder, you know, to the die to get the clash marks out.
Now, should we address, I don't know, the wording? Like, I don't know if you, there's probably a Mad Die Clash number or label for this one. I'm sure there is.
Listed.
But, you know, what kind of adjectives should you be using when you describe a coin's level of clashing or lamination, or you know, some things you can do exact and some things you can't. But
I like words like bold or glorious or delicious.
well, you also said something about describing fruit or fruit.
For someone that, you know, studies these die pairs, you know, you have stages. You have different stages of this die pair.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting to is how do you become more precise in your language so that people understand what you're talking about, but also you're specific to a variety or a error or a.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can, Shay, because if you think about it, there are literally an infinite number of die stages of this exact clash. In my opinion,
you might be 200,000 or so.
Yeah, but you know, every strike, that clash is going to slowly get weaker and weaker and weaker. In my opinion, I don't think you can really do that with something like this. And the same thing goes with what Jeffrey's doing, right? So that's why he's going crazy trying to catalog that stuff, because that crack could, theoretically, grow every single time it hits a planter. It's possible. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but the possibility is there. So how do you catalog something like that? You could spend a lifetime doing that. And Jeffrey, if that's what you plan on doing, good luck to you. But you could actually spend a lifetime trying to catalog the progression of die crack on even a single year of a coin.
Yeah.
Especially 55.
It takes time. It comes down to the standards that, you know, Wiles and Wexler use about their different stages, for Christ's sakes. You know, when this appears, when that appears. And
that's why they put standards in place, though, because if there were no standards in place, you could have an infinite number of stages.
Correct. And it comes down to careful study of, you know, On most crack skulls, you're gonna have an H worth of. There's going to be an H that forms, when a crack forms in this direction versus this direction versus when part of that die starts chipping out. There's major things of that die starting to break down. I mean, those are the standards that I use. Say chip appears in this area versus a crack appears on your wheat ear. Things like that. I mean, there's major differences and there's major areas to where that deterioration starts to happen.
I love when you get all worked up with this stuff, man.
Oh yeah. Well, and then is it proper to say things like late mid die stage or early late die stage?
Well, at what point does it become moot? You top earliest 10% of the die. Well, usually you get a sharper strike. Latest 10% of the die life. Usually you have a lot more markers.
So that's
make that difference.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope of an early die state, to where most things are most things that are in error in essence. You're not going to have those early die states. They're just not distinguishable. So, when you get to that late die stage, to when that die starts falling apart, I mean that's when you're able to tell die pairs and things of that nature.
Oh,
Versus a variety.
You guys are gonna love this one.
Versus a variety, something that's been on the die the whole time.
So the second pictures he sent is of a 1974 Clash, and this is the strongest in the 74. I've got an 84 that looks like this, but here's the kicker, is that that's the obverse. Here's the reverse.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
And that is strong.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still see the detail, the outline of his
His
forehead, all the way down to his vest.
And look at him in that bay. That is crazy.
So
and look at all the abrasion lines on that as well. So that die was already dressed and attempted to be repaired, and it's still strong. So either it was clashed before, cleaned up, and then clashed again, or it was just such a strong clash they couldn't get rid of it.
Well, looking at E Pluribus Unum, between the bus and the memorial, that looks like a double clash.
I was gonna say, yeah. Wouldn't it be almost indicative with all those polishing marks and still a clash that it happened again?
Yeah.
I would say so, yeah.
Yes.
It wanted to clash.
Yeah.
One of my favorite clashes is a clash on a Kennedy, right in front of his face. It's the best clash there is.
So when so if you guys look through the Lincoln Sense and you come across heavy polishing in Bay 3 and Bay 8, this is basically what they're trying to polish out. What I look for is obviously signs of his chin or the back of his neck, shoulder area.
Hawaiian Liberty.
The other thing,
Liberty.
is
I love when that shows.
Liberty right here. Is these little roof pieces in the bays, and they will go through and they polish these out so that these columns get weaker, and then these roof pieces are just completely absent. That's one surefire way to tell that die had a clash, and they tried being the keyword, tried and polished it out.
So Shay has an interesting one up on the screen, and I would like to talk about these because I love Shield Sense. Most people hate them. I love them.
I hate them.
Shield Sense have been so good for me. I can't help but love them. But look at how strong that clash is on the obverse of the die. Okay. My favorite is the fact that it comes off of the tip of his nose like that, man. I love it. Down there by his bow tie, you can see remnants of the letters. It's United, I think, right?
Should be Unum.
Unum. So now flip that over, Shay. I have never, ever seen, out of all of the clashes I found on Shields, I have never found one that had any evidence whatsoever on the reverse of a clash.
Is the shield big enough area and deep enough as far as the design that it doesn't show?
There should be something showing somewhere. Whether
You
it's
gotta look at the lines in the shield.
part of the date should show in parts
In there, and it's going to be very, very thin because it's those lines in the shield that are the low points on the coin and the high points on the die. But you got a lot of steepness there. Look for Lincoln's nose over on the right side. Probably on the lower bit here.
Yeah, I have to say I hate the shield sense, but man, there's some good clashes in those shield sense.
Yeah, there's some great ones.
Well, I didn't realize the really cool clashes on the 2009s. On there's some formative years and presidential, that have Witch's nose is coming off of his face. It's crazy.
So on the reverse, above the shield, there should be evidence of, his vest, the bottom of the bust, basically. To the left of the shield, at the top, there should be, something from the date. You should see some sort of evidence of liberty to the right of the shield, right under the E. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, the left of the shield. Unfortunately, I've never seen one, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah, I haven't seen one either. Let you say that, Chris.
Nice little die marker on that one. Too bad it's not a double die. You gotta love the blobs on the top of the shield. I love shield sense, man. Shay, you're gonna grow to love them too.
Well, I've become a little bit more fond of them, but I'm scared of having to collect all those little blobs on top of the shield. So
no, you don't want to collect.
No. You'll be poor. You'll be poor. You'll be taking nothing back to the bank.
Man, I got 10 pounds of die cracks from 1983. I don't know what to do with.
Well, I was thinking of making a slow motion, like the slow motion claymation things with the die cracks going, and play it real fast and see what happens.
I got an animated GIF on a Shawnee Quarter, and you can see it grow.
Yeah, I sent you Ken, I sent you in a GIF that you used on the thing, on one of those modern quarters.
There are so many really good double dies in the Shield series that are just so underrated. I can't figure it out.
Hey, Chris, go ahead and send me your address. I'm just going to send you 50 pounds of Shield pennies, and you can...
Don't tease me, man. Don't tease
me. Dude. Michael, look. My 14th million Shield that I've looked.
If you would like 50 pounds of pennies, get a hold of CJ's Coins and Crafts at cj@cj.com.
So CJ, have you not found any good stuff in the Shields?
I have found exactly 2 things.
You are not looking hard enough, man.
No, because I hate them.
But there's so much good stuff. And
okay.
2014 WDDO 003. That thing is beautiful. Number 2 is beautiful.
I haven't found a one.
2015 has a bunch of really good ones. 2018 has a really good one.
I think part of my opportunity with the Shield is that 99.995% of all of these Shield coins that I get are Denver.
Well, then you're gonna struggle. Yeah, then you're
gonna. I have the same problem, but I still find stuff, CJ.
Y'all can keep your Shield sense. I'm just gonna stick to my Eagles. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll find a ton of them and send them your way in trade.
Done. So our next one comes from, I believe it's the last one from Coin Junkie, and I'm going to share the screen once I figure out how to share the
I'm
screen.
finding myself looking forward to seeing Coin Junkie's photos now.
There we go. I think we had Jeffrey drop out. So the question that comes with this one is that he says what we believe the error to be. In the little bit of research that he's done, he has seen some examples somewhat similar to this one, and they are referred to as flawed planchets. So what you guys think of this one? So this is
Can we see the obverse?
Well, that looks more like a struck through.
Yep, that's exactly what that is, Ken. That's a struck through.
so it looks like there's something going on in the crown.
Hold on.
We got a few more pictures.
Look at the weakness though at the L and I area of Elizabeth.
Well, then we're missing metal on the back.
I believe is exactly opposite of that mark on the reverse.
We saw that with his lamination before.
Yep. So whatever that is, that was there before it was struck. So
Okay, that's
that may be a lamination.
That's an odd one. Now, lamination, because the way they roll the copper is usually linear in fashion, and that looks like it's oh wow, a roll through. Okay, they roll out the copper for the planchet, and maybe there's something on it, and you get squeezed into the sheet, and then it's punched.
It's possible, but I see striations in that going southeast.
Okay,
You see anybody else seeing those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
sure.
think you're talking about
Yeah,
these
it's a
lines
planchet
going this
flaw.
way.
And that existed before the strike.
So I mean, planchet flaw is a term that works for it. Yeah.
Coin Dragon is saying something about getting stuck in the upset mill. Is that a possibility?
I don't think so, because the upsetting mill is what gives the coin its rim, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't see this bit of metal disappearing because of the upsetting mill. And if it was stuck in there, what would
He
we
says
expect?
a foreign object in the upset mill.
Someplace. I don't think it's.
I think if that were the case, it would actually be affecting the edge of the coin, and not the surface of the coin.
There's not enough metal there to be upset. That's why it's missing.
Well, and it kind of looks polished, like the rest of the coin. You know, like I don't know, like the same surface luster.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, Shay. And what that probably means is it was definitely there before the planchet was cut out, and then run through their bath or whatever they do to it. So a planchet flaw probably works. Very possibly some sort of lamination flaw in the metal. And with what we got going on from the crown to the edge of the coin,
That's on the opposite side of what we just saw, I think. No, that's going to be at the top.
no, that's different. But that could also, I mean, that's either a die crack or lamination. It's kind of hard to tell.
Or cracked planchet. You want to look at the edge of that.
We're getting all kinds of answers in the chat. We got bad planchet, caught on a finger, packing fingers, defective planchet.
You don't want to get your finger between those dies, man.
No, Ken's right though. We should see an edge picture if we can.
These are the 5 pictures that I got.
Okay.
I just, for some reason, I was thinking of filing one of those freedom of information requests for how many injuries and what type of injuries were in the mint. I know it's kind of gruesome, but
These fingers are ending up in those mint bags.
Hey, we got Jeffrey back. Let's see what he thinks.
Yeah, for some reason it keeps on kicking me. I don't know why. So I switched computers. So to me it looks like a defective planchet. Absolutely. Yeah, I'd like everyone was saying. I want to see that edge on that. In that area.
On this one, or the other
On
one?
both areas. Both areas.
Okay.
I want to see what the edge looks like relative to a bunch of other stuff.
You know, and technically, I think the term defective planchet kind of fits it, but that to me is a really broad statement. I think there's a better descriptive term that can be used.
There is, but there's no good way to tell exactly what happened to that planchet before it got struck sometimes. So sometimes the only statement you can go with is that broad statement. You know, if that sheet was cracked to hell, I mean, it's still defective planchet.
It's
But,
Canada. It's cold up there.
you know, I've quite a few defective planchets that who knows exactly what the hell happened to them, but something was messed up in that sheet of metal.
I mean, technically, you know, any lamination before strike is a defective planchet, right?
Correct, but you can.
Or there's other things
but-
that may fall under that same category.
Well, yeah, I mean, just like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Frank comes up with like all these great terms like
Planchet
planchet attrition.
What is that? You're making this up.
Next one comes from Bill457. He is asking, 1998 Philadelphia quarter, is this a cud?
I love cuts.
And I have 3 pictures.
Not even kinda.
Looks like damage.
Damage.
It's been slung into the concrete.
Nope, a cud will be raised on the coin because it is a void in the die. It's a piece of the die that broke off, and the pressure of the strike forces some of the metal up into that void. Ken Peavy is going to give us a great visual explanation of cud.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Ken's gonna run for Play-Doh.
Right? You get a flat die face. The die itself is round, but every now and then, a whole piece of that side of the die is gonna bust off. Right? It's gonna crack first, crack, and then fall off. And the piece that's missing, that's the cud. What you're left with is a void. Okay. And it's always on the side, the edge of the coin, because it's the side of the die that's missing. And when you press the 2 dies together with a planchet in the middle, that metal from the planchet will start to fill, partly anyway, this gap, this void that's left over. And on the other side, because I don't have opposing forces, I'm going to be missing detail on the opposite side of that coin. So look for a big blob at the rim.
So on this picture, go back to it. On this picture, one of the things that I wanted to ask about is this area that looks like it's dented in on the rim. Is that the damage that then is affecting the coin on the inside?
It's very possible. Yes. I mean, it's definitely related. The damage on the edge is the same length as the damage on the field of the coin, so it is directly related.
That's been bad.
Bill asked me to zoom in, and this is what I got to work with.
That's been
just damage.
Feet on or something.
dropped, it scraped along the road something.
You know, we throw these coins off the top of the Empire State Building. I'm sure they ended up looking a lot like that. The ones that miss the pedestrians.
So here, there's something that is defacing the rim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever hit it,
Oh,
whatever hit it had a round design. I mean, it's something round hit it and pressed down on it, and actually might have even removed some metal from the rim there. But it's damage.
Okay.
You start with the assumption of damage, and if you think it's something else, prove your case, because if it's an error, then there must be something in the process of minting that would cause what you see.
That's like when I go to the post office, they always ask me the same question. Anything hazardous, flammable, dangerous,
Or
flipping
potentially
batteries?
hazardous.
Yeah, right? So, Ken, you are going to say that so many times, you probably say it in your sleep.
Yep.
I say a lot of things in my sleep, and I want to apologize to anybody who overheard that. Hey, but
Yeah,
there
just
are-
like I said about the minting process.
there's only so many things that can go wrong in the minting process. If you want to get into errors, you gotta, study the minting process.
Yep. Just remember, Jeff knocks at the door. Do you have a moment to talk about the minting process, our Lord and Savior?
If Chris knocks on the door, make sure you have some food available.
So this next one, let me get this shared.
There's one thing you learn the minting process.
I have several pictures here,
Oh,
and let me get to the question. The question says, first off, so I want to apologize if this is a late night chemistry experiment and turns out to be PMD. Would you please shed some light on what is going on with this coin? It looks like the planchet is peeling apart and like it had a clad layer. Also, it looks like it shows signs of clashing or some kind of artwork.
Do you have a picture of the other side?
Back in the day, there were shop classes, and they teach these guys how to plate things, how to do chrome plating in particular, because all your bumpers on cars were chrome back in the day. They teach them electroplating.
yeah. I'm with Ken on this one. There is something on the surface of the coin, whether it was plated or shellacked or whatever the heck it is. Wow, that's neat. Look at the trumpet coming off of the E. But regardless, it's something on the surface of the coin that has been slowly peeling off.
This looks more like a lacquer.
Yep, that thing coming off the E is actually like a splatter or something of that lacquer. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go back to the Elmers, you can obviously tell there's some sort of lacquer, some sort of layer that's just peeling off.
Yeah,
of
right
it.
below Liberty is real evidence that
You could probably peel that off yourself.
If you looked at enough of these wheat cents, nothing about that is consistent with any sort of dye trend whatsoever.
There's no part of the mint process that would create this. This is after mint.
Yes.
It's a contaminant.
Yep. So cool find, just mint damage, post mint damage.
Just occurred to me we were watching paint peel.
Not pretty much.
Not watching, looking at. All right, this next one comes from Robert Lister. He's asking, is this an RPM? He's thinking that this is a D over tilted D, but can't see any of the die markers. So, number one, if you can't find die markers, that is a sign that it is probably not what you think it is.
but not necessarily a
Not
king.
necessarily.
Not
Yeah.
always. What's the date on this coin?
1984.
Possibly.
So this
Got-
picture right here.
Got photos of it,
This-
CJ?
Am I not sharing? Oh, I
No,
gotta
you're
click
not
the
sharing.
button.
Yeah.
Click the button. Hey, Let's try that one.
Pull the shade.
No.
That is copper that is split.
I was
Yep.
gonna say, as soon as I saw this, I saw the discoloration. This is split plating, and it's extremely common in the 80s.
And as Chuck mentioned a while back, it is usually, and I don't know why, I don't know what the reason is, but it's usually south and southeast on the mint marks.
Yeah, I see that all the time.
I've noticed that too. Yeah, it's towards the rim.
Yep.
So I really think the hardness of those planchets mixed with dye deterioration, with a little bit of physics, with how that is pretty much a right angle in that die. A lot of that you can even look and see on that reverse. That die's deteriorated pretty good. You have that deterioration ridge everywhere.
So I do want to state very good pictures.
Poor man's RPMs.
Because these are some of these are really hard to take to take good clear pictures of, and like right here, I mean, we can see the zinc underneath, we can see the split plating, and that's what it is.
And you can even see the zinc exposed at the top left of the D as well.
Yep. Really good photos.
Yeah.
Absolutely good photos.
Excellent.
Great photos.
But unfortunately not an RPM. And I'll say those early 80s RPMs, they're tough to find, man. They are really tough. I had to buy mine from Ken Potter, so I couldn't find any.
I found an 87. Looks like rope. The way it's
the 80s
overall.
RPMs, specifically the later 80s RPMs, I almost as far as just looking through what the listings is, that they show up more on the vertical bar than they do on the curve.
Yeah, and unless you're going through BU rolls, it's going to be really hard to find them.
Yep.
So I'm pulling up the next one right now.
I'm thinking the reason it's, as you said, CJ, it's basically towards the rim, that split plating. And I guess that's because when the coin's being struck, all the pressure wants to escape. It wants to move out towards the rim. That's why die deterioration, has a flow to it. It's always outward. It's trying to escape.
Oh. Yeah, kind of going off of what Chris was saying there, that in that mint mark's a pinch point. It's where most of your pressure is going to reside. So in terms of engineering and mechanics, that's what they would define as a pinch point.
Well, I kind of want to call it punch trauma.
CJ, who was that from?
That was from Robert Lister.
Oh, cool.
Robert, we have at least one person in the YouTube chat that is looking to find out what you use to take those pictures. So if you are around and you're willing to share that information, please let them know, because they were pictures, very good pictures.
He's the one that also had the wire through the nickel Jefferson.
Yeah, and those were great pictures too. So yeah, definitely, if you can share that, please do.
And using that equipment, you are going to find some coins. Like, you gave us a couple that turned out not to be what you wanted them to be, but you keep looking with that equipment, you will find stuff. Just keep looking.
He has himself set up for success.
Yep.
All right, next one comes from Jeff Stanley. He is saying 1972 Denver, 50 cent. It's a Kennedy half. It's a clip. And yeah,
Oh, Shay's getting all excited now.
Yeah, I know. He's like, oh yeah, all right.
Look at those keepers opening up now.
I got my two clips from Amber.
Let's see, right.
Yeah, I kind of kicked myself. Amber had some good stuff for sale on Chuck's auction. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago, and didn't have the money for it at the time. Ooh, look at that one, man. Look at that Blakesley effect.
Yeah, you got Blakesley over on the date.
That is crazy.
So there's a few more pictures on this. I'll go through them. There's the reverse.
That's a good one.
So weakness of design opposite the
Oh,
clip.
yeah. Beautiful.
Sloped on the clip, around the rim.
That's a nice one.
That is a nice one.
Look at how weak.
Huge.
Is this Jeff Stanley's coin? Is that who this is?
Yes.
Yeah, he said he picked this up on eBay for $4 at 3:30 in the morning.
Nice. Good job.
Worth every penny.
Jeff Stanley the sniper, baby.
You can find my address at manticcoins.com.
My birthday's in February.
I was gonna say that's about the time that I'm hunting. So maybe I should just
Say,
continue shifting my sleep schedule to match the.
Yeah, I
You
got
know, one thing I'd really like to see the edge on this one too, because there's so much weakness on the bottom left of this coin. It looks like more than just the Blakesley effect going on here. It could possibly be a tapered planchet as well. Anybody else feel that way?
yeah.
I mean, there's weakness starting at the L at Liberty and going all the way around to the 2 in the date, and that is
Yeah, all the way right in here.
yeah, I don't want to see it, but I don't want to make that. I wouldn't want to make that leap without seeing.
on the reverse. The Blakesley effect is real evident, directly across from. I mean, that's real evident. I mean,
Right
it's
here on
directly
the
across from the
States.
clip. Okay, but the obverse side has so much weakness in such a large area. I would just be curious to see the edge of the coin.
How do you have weakness on one side but strength on the other?
Yeah, very good question that needs to be answered. So, Jeff, I'd take a close look at that coin. You might have like a nice little double error going on there.
I forgot to even look for the no FG on the reverse.
Oh, you're slipping.
Yeah, it's
You
there.
didn't even see that. Oh, you see
It's there.
You can have a variety, like the no FG, on an error coin.
Yeah.
One is not dependent on the other. And when you got a die variety on an error planchet, that's when you really got a treat on your hands.
And there's a known double die on the 72D as well. 3 of them.
Yeah, I still remember that time Chuck had a clip planchet that he auctioned, and he didn't realize it was a double die at first. I don't recall if anybody else was around for that.
Jeff's going to send a picture of the edge.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Late night
figure out-
server maintenance pays off. He's in IT. Yep, nothing to do but wait. Get on my phone about stuff.
This is usually me. It's my break night because I can't see. So it's.
All right, so the next one comes. Well, we're waiting for that one.
How did you
comes
drive
from-
home with no glasses?
Poke and hope.
There's a whole trail of destruction.
The next one comes from Roadrunner, and the question is, I've seen some cracks on other 18S Lincoln wheat cents. This one is peeling. What's the term for this? A progressive error or question mark?
That looks like
Lamination.
a minor lamination.
I see a lamination. I see a big old round area lamination there.
Yep.
Not a
Yeah.
crack.
If you look right going through the 9, that's a Woody. I see cracks in front of his nose and his chin.
About this one.
Yeah, Chris hit it right on the nose with this one. Woodies and laminations are related.
See how they're generally parallel?
They occur from the same thing.
Yep. Improper alloy mixture leads to lamination defects.
So yeah, I just see a bunch of laminations on this one.
Okay.
Meantime, it's an XF18S.
It's a nice
Yeah,
ATS.
hold on to that one, Rodan.
Frank likes that. Frank said, "Wait, what now?"
Wait, what? Wood.
I think you heard the word woody.
I found a bag marked Woody.
Oh,
Ken, I'm gonna send you my address. Just send it my way.
You don't need to look.
There. This says wood. I wrote wood on it. Stop moving. Did it say food? Oh, no, it says wood. So I gotta go see what the heck these are. I don't know. I don't remember writing that.
Yes, very
That's
cool.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a series.
So
That's a series that's hard to put together. A wood grained Lincoln set series.
yes.
Frank, we need to get you on the, you need to show up on the panel, man.
Oh, Frank's been on the panel before. He's shy.
He doesn't like wearing. He doesn't like wearing clothes, so he
That's
doesn't want to be on
exactly what I
camera.
do.
Right.
I want to put on a shirt.
Clothing optional. As long as the camera's from the waist up, who cares?
No comment.
So right now I'm just waiting on the Edge picture that Jeff Stanley is gonna send maybe,
Oh.
and that is all of the emails for tonight.
I'm super happy about a find I did yesterday. Check out this Connecticut double die.
Oh, I see it.
Wow. That's a hard one to pick out.
Yeah, I've been looking for this one.
Yeah, that one's all about reading between the lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Move it down just a little tiny bit. Just right there on that little bud. I got some separation lines and notches on that bud.
Yeah,
Bud.
and then
Bud.
let me get my.
Wow.
These are the pictures that Wexler has. That little nugget right there, and that one right there.
Yep.
And you're talking.
The Connecticut's are also known for those off-center errors too. There's a lot of those out there.
And I finally got me a Great Basin. I got two of them, two different ones. Is this the strong one? No, this is the light one.
Oh,
Wow. So that's like a class 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one's even stronger. This one is.
Wow, that's a good one.
Let's see. There it is. And under there.
Yeah,
And
nice.
actually, it extends all this too. Oh wait, is this the one? Wait, this isn't the one. Maybe it's the other one. Let me see.
Shay, what's the most comprehensive online listing source for the quarter double die?
I have to use a bunch.
So there's no one single source that you use for these?
No, I use both Wexler and Variety Vista.
Soon it'll be the standard
Look at that.
one day.
That was actually pretty strong.
This one's really strong. Yeah, I love this one.
I'm kind of jealous over that one. I like that one.
I mean, you got. It looked weak down here, but you look up here and it's bam.
And which quarter is that, Shay?
This is the Great Basin, the 2013
Okay.
P.
Definitely putting that one on my watch list.
And I've literally searched thousands of them and haven't found it. So these are the first two. I found them in one roll. I'm like, come on.
That's how it happens.
And then I finally found an offsetter.
I was gonna say you guys are talking about quarters.
Uh-oh. Somebody's giving a plug to themselves.
I was like, I
Wow.
found some cases, and yeah, this design I think is gonna be
Oh, look at
is gonna be nice.
Ooh,
Yeah, that is nice, TJ.
very nice.
Yep.
I love it.
Oh man,
Since it's my channel, I'm gonna plug me.
did you see Ken's Woody? Frank, did you see that?
Oh, look at that.
Oh man,
Mark Wood.
that was in the bag marked wood.
Yeah. Good color on that.
I think you should send that entire bag to Frank.
Wait, no,
Hey,
no, you're
that's a nice coin too,
gonna
man.
send it to me. It's okay.
Split it up. Half of it goes to Frank. Half of it goes to Jeff.
I'll take that.
I've been a little picky, and I'm trying to only get ones with Woody on both sides. Because you don't.
Yeah,
always-
my wood grain sets high contrast, and let me tell you, that's tough. That's tough.
Mhm.
That's why there's only about 6 in the Danska right now, because I'm picky about the ones I want.
I bet you are. Yeah.
So let's see if I can
Oh, look,
look
Frank.
at that photo.
You can always trade out the better ones you find later.
Or you can just be picky from the start. It's fun.
Frank is now my property.
How come you wrote it right above the word tool? Just curious.
Oh, is that cool winkadink or what?
Franken tool.
It just says that. I don't know what the hell was in there. Probably a router bit or something.
Frank said, I don't like the sound of that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Cool.
So we got a picture from Jeff Stanley on the $50.
Looks like a normal rim.
Yeah, it does look normal, doesn't it? Is that? And so I'm guessing that the. Well,
I like how he uses two rolls to hold up the coin.
Yeah.
Rather
Oh yay! No pliers today. No pliers
Yeah.
today. No,
Wait, hold on. I got some pliers
no,
right here.
stop, no, stop.
You know Ken's
Stop.
bringing them out. He's looking for them right now. Uh-oh, there they are.
Oh God.
All right, guys. It's time to head out for the night. See ya.
I'm ready.
Oh, shoot.
So I'm assuming that this is the opposite side of the clip because obviously we can't see the clip in this
Yeah,
picture. So
that's just that must be really strong Blakely effect. So cool. Still cool, man.
yeah, great pictures too. Says that's the date.
Oh my
Edge by the date. I'm not going to repeat the rest of that.
god. Oh my god.
All right, I think it's time to end the show. Time to
You know,
end the show.
That kind of reminds me of how we talk after the live feed.
that's pretty tight there, man. Yeah.
So, but that is all of the
I missed it.
Anything
all
his
of the
butt-
pictures that we got.
Oh,
Oh my god.
this is a family show.
Well,
Yeah.
it was.
It was. Now it's banned.
It's after 10.
Said he emailed a picture to your personal email.
I'm checking
Sage
it right now.
CJ Clinton said he emailed you a picture.
What's up?
Man, Coin People After Hours. It's getting close to midnight.
Yeah,
Right.
what's on your mind? Yo, you know what? That's like taking the licking the coin to the next level. Holding it in your
Yes,
butt.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say that. I want to give people ideas.
Clinton, I can't show that, man.
It's gonna be the next challenge around YouTube.
I cannot show that on here. I will show the rest of the group after I turn it off, but I
Oh
cannot
God,
I cannot show that, dude.
I
Is
can
it-
only imagine.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
You ever see those pictures where they show it so close up that you can't really make out what it is? That's what you should do.
Pixels.
Can you figure out what this is?
The new phase of the coin moon.
Yeah, yeah. What's clinching the coin? We'll make a game show out of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. We don't have any more pictures, so
Ken,
Yeah.
you ought to modify your pliers to have like little butt cheeks on it.
I got the other side I can do it with. There you go. Name that coin.
What you got there?
It's tiny. Can't see it too well.
If I move it just a little bit. How about now?
Cumberland Gap quarter.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
No,
Low quarter.
No.
Lower corner.
Oh yeah.
Yes!
Oh,
Woo!
got it.
That was her shoulder I was showing off.
I found one with a die cracker in her hair
It was on the
yesterday.
desk.
you know, I really wish there was like a bunch of double dies on the Bob Ross quarter.
Hey, Brooklyn, man.
I know. All
Real
this
hard. Look around
weird
the
hair.
That side window.
Yeah, the side window to the right and top level.
Yeah, yeah. It's bad. We call it the Bob Ross quarter.
Do you guys see the meme going around Facebook? It was there's a guy sitting there, he's like spackling drywall. I think it's on Twitter. So somebody says, "You're like the Bob Ross of drywall." So Bob Ross must have seen it. So then he replied, he says, "I don't see anything happy in that spackling."
Well, Bob Ross died like in '89 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
well,
been done a long time.
Bob Ross
Somebody
wannabe.
fake Bob Ross account, but it was funny.
Just gonna paint this happy little bush. It'll just be our secret.
Happy little trees. Happy little trees.
And then somebody else said, "What if Bob Ross was painting all of the places that he killed people at? What if he was?
Oh,
a
don't start
geez.
that. Don't start that.
yeah, what if he was a serial killer and he was just showing everybody where he placed all the bodies?
You know, he would actually paint the whole painting before he would go paint it on air. He was so meticulous about, being able to do it exactly the way he wanted first and then the second time. So
I can't really say I blame him because who would want to do it wrong on TV?
Oh, Ken.
They double die one
Oh.
more time.
it's been so rampant. I just ugh.
I gave up, man. I gave up.
Double the
Paul is still fighting that battle.
triple the
Double die, and die is spelled D-Y-E.
oh yeah.
No. Well,
Or
Is it autocorrect?
D-U-B-B-L-E. D-Y-E.
Somebody must have chewed a lot of double back in the day because that's the only place I would ever see that spelling.
No, I've seen it. Coin forums. 100%.
Yeah.
I've seen it on 2x2s all the time.
Yeah, and
Coin Dragon says that's grounds for a beatdown.
right. Yeah, it is. It's like if you don't even know what it's called, then you should not even start asking the question.
Well, it's just it's like anything. You need to learn the lingo before you speak it, and I mean, there's always a crossover, right? Some of us work in business, some of us work in tech, some of us deal with coins, and some of us don't. I mean, you have to have an interest, and if you have the interest, learn the language. If you learn the language, then you can learn how to be a good steward.
Here's a question I have though. Some people I see get on and get in the groups and say, "Hi, I'm brand new to coin collecting. Is this a double die?" So they're brand new to the coin collecting hobby itself, and then they're jumping right in to like a niche. I wonder, like, how do they even know about it?
I heard about it. The 1955 double die is very popular. Gets a lot of hype. The 72, the 69S. Some of these get a lot of media attention on occasion. People, it sticks in their craw. They remember it.
43 bronze.
Well,
Everybody knows about the 43 bronze.
G small date copper.
They're jumping for the money coins. They're jumping for lottery coins that they're never going to find.
Is this one worth
Let's
it?
put it that way.
It just seems odd to me that there are so many of those people that are like brand new to the hobby, and then they somehow jump right into the error and variety field.
well,
That's where the money's at.
a few quick searches on Google count the number of times you see double die versus doubled die. A newbie is not going to know the difference, really, the nuance, right? So, how
Chris,
do they?
I think that we've talked about this subject, but a lot of it has to do with certain thumbnails, certain videos, and certain articles that people only read. Hey, you can find this coin and it's worth $5,000. It's worth $10,000.
Yeah, they look
So
at the date and the amount.
everyone. That's why. I mean, the only reason. I mean, really, the reason why I say this is that you can go in to any forum anywhere that deals with anything about coins, and you can do a search for 1982, and you will have a billion listings, because that is just one of those things that has been spread. Like everybody's trying to find the 1982, and that's all they get. And it's so top level that they don't get into it like at all.
What the hell is he doing?
What the?
David and Roadrunner.
I'm watching PB struggle with his mouse, man.
Like a new mouse.
No, I'm looking at chat.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, CJ, that's the unfortunate part. A lot of that stuff that it isn't even right ends up being at the top of the search results,
Absolutely.
and it's a shame.
Absolutely.
That Coin Trackers website should be shut down, man.
Oh, that's
I don't know
garbage.
how many
Garbage.
times people have referred to some of the information they got from Coin Trackers. I see it almost every day. Well, I got this 1943 or 44 penny, and it says it could be worth up to $1,000. Is that true?
Or they do this. They say
Yeah, they look at
this
the
book says my coin is worth $1,300, and
No.
it looks like it got run over by a truck.
It also says it's worth 2 cents.
I
It's
think
worth a few cents first. There's a lot of sensationalizing.
Yeah.
It's good. It's exposure. Hey, look, man, you can find this coin. This one right here. Look for it in your pocket change. You can find this error. But they don't explain that errors are unique, every single one of them. They don't explain that this coin, there's only 1,400 ever produced. They're not explaining these things at the fuller. So people have an aspect of desperation in their lives, and geez, maybe I have one of those coins that's worth $1 million. There's about 15 coins in the world that are worth $1 million or more.
You know, I want to do a whole series of videos sensationalizing how coins are not worth money. Like, look at this.
On this one, in your pocket change, and it's worth nothing.
You can find this in a proof set. But you know how much it's going to bring you? $7. You know how much it costs a slab? $10.
Plus shipping and insurance.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing I've seen is people go to eBay and search up a coin, and they click on highest value. I could go on there and post a 2019 cent that was run over by a train and list it for $10 million. And says, "Oh, that coin's worth $10 million." No, it's not. No.
Look, man,
People can
There's a
ask. People can
1962
ask
Corvette
anything
out
they
there.
want.
1962 Corvette. Looks like it came right out of the shop, brand spanking new, owned by an old lady who drove it on Sundays and died the month after she got it. It's been a garage ever since. Yeah, that's a valuable car, right? So you get a 1972 Chevy Nova with the floorboards rusted out. It's not really going to be that valuable, is it? Rarity, condition, they're critical aspects to the value of your coins. Yeah, the sensationalizing channels, they're not developing the ideas and explaining thoroughly why these coins have value. And people are left in the lurch. They're using their ignorance to promote the idea of collecting. Well, it does get some exposure to the hobby, but we're left picking up the pieces.
You know, I think, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the age, being the age of disposable income. I mean, if somebody's willing to pay $1 million to have the only one of a kind icon on their iPhone, I mean, what does that say, you know, about,
Somebody
you know, is that just a lottery? I mean, it's an elusive thing. It's thinking that you're going to get rich quick from doing something, and somebody else is going to pay you for it. And then how do you feel? How are you going to feel giving somebody something that is absolutely worthless?
So there was a study done, and my generation, aka the millennials and Gen Z afterwards, there was a study done, and the number one biggest retirement plan was hitting the lottery.
I'm gonna hit the lottery. I won the lottery. Did you see?
That was the number one way that millennials and Generation Z thought that they were gonna get their retirement or get rich. No.
Wow.
No, that's not how you do retirement.
Or go to the casino.
The lottery. No, that's not how the world works.
It doesn't.
I got real lucky at the casino. I got strep.
Well,
You have a
Well, it's better than
getting
getting strapped.
than walking away with more than you walked in with.
and sometimes people just have to have hope, and I understand that. If you have $5, are you going to hold on to it, or are you going to try to win, you know, a $10,000? Just that lure of bettering. I'd rather go buy $5 worth of pennies and look for some treasure in it than go spend it on lottery that have nothing to show for it. Right?
But it benefits older Americans every day.
Hoover says, one of them always said,
There's a story of about
with a big bank account and a bad cough. I do hang around the geriatric center down here in Florida because you got all these old ladies, right? And their husbands are long gone. They got their pensions, they got their investment portfolios, and they're old, and they want, you know, one more fling before they check out. That's where I come in.
I was going to say, Ken, you seem like you know a lot about that.
You know, there's a cancer lady. She's wonderful. There's not a hair on her body. She's smooth as silk. You know, you got the Alzheimer's girl. She's because there's no guilt. Who are
Oh,
you? I'll
this
just
is.
hit
Oh.
All right,
My
shut it
favorite,
down. Time to
favorite one.
shut it down.
She's a hell of a ride.
Oh my God.
All right,
Oh.
shut her
wow.
down.
Damn.
We're still on air.
Yeah, we are.
All right, delete that part. You're gonna lose your channel, man.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I am gonna shut it down though because I need to get some food because I have not eaten.
Yep, shut her
yet.
down.
Hey, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, CJ.
Yep.
That's been
Yeah,
fun.
I'm glad that I got everything to work in a pinch, and you know, it worked out. You know, so thank you thank you everyone that sent in emails and sent in pictures. I've noticed that week after week the pictures get better and better. We had the vast majority of the pictures that were sent in were very clear. They were very concise. They were front, back, area in question, solid questions. Like that's exactly, you know, the type of things that we ask, because that makes our diagnosis easier to do. So I want to thank Chris for coming on. I want to thank Shay for coming on, even Sans Glasses. I want to thank Shumar for coming up, and I want to thank Ken for stopping in.
Yeah. And you know what, CJ, thank you for taking it last minute. You did well. So props to you, brother.
I show up, stuff happens.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works, actually.
Now go take care of that sucker that parked in your parking spot.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a little Mazda Miata, dude. I'm gonna go
Oh
go
man.
axe
Cut his
the
rag top.
tires or something.
Is it a convertible? Cut it up.
Yeah, it is. All
All right, I'm gonna take off, guys. You stay groovy.
right, thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Well, I guess I'm going to eat too, man. I'm hungry.
See if I can figure out how to get